Deep in the Scottish Highlands lies a body of water shrouded in mist and mystery. This is Loch Ness, home to one of the world's most enduring legends, the Loch Ness Monster. For nearly a century, tallies of a large, long-necked creature nicknamed Nessie have captivated the globe, sparking countless expeditions, debates, and a whole lot of wishful thinking. But is there any truth to these stories? Or is Nessie just a figment of our collective imagination? Today, we're diving deep into the dark waters of Loch Ness to uncover the history, the hoaxes, and the science behind Scotland's most famous resident. The story of the Loch Ness Monster as we know it today truly began in 1933. That year, a new road was completed along the shore of the loch, offering unprecedented views of the water. Suddenly, sightings exploded. In August, a man named George Spicer and his wife claimed to have seen an extraordinary animal cross the road in front of their car. They described a creature with a long neck, a large body, and no limbs, lumbering towards the loch. Their story was published in the Inverness Courier, and it lit a fire under public imagination. Letters poured in from others claiming to have seen a monster fish, a sea serpent, or even a dragon. Before long, the creature had its official name, the Loch Ness Monster, and by the 1940s, it had gained its affectionate nickname, Nessie. But if you ask true believers, the story of Nessie starts much, much earlier. They point to a text written in the 7th century, the life of St. Columba. According to this account, the Irish monk St. Columba was visiting the area around 565 AD. He came across some locals burying a man who they said had been attacked by a water beast while swimming in the River Ness. Never one to back down, Columba ordered one of his own followers to swim across the river. As the beast emerged from the depths and lunged for the man, Columba made the sign of the cross and commanded it to retreat. The story goes that the creature fled as if pulled back with ropes, and everyone praised the miracle. For many, this is indisputable proof that a monster has lurked in these waters for over 1,500 years. However, skeptics are quick to point out a few things. First, this event took place in the River Ness, not the loch itself. More importantly, stories of saints taming water beasts were incredibly common in medieval texts. They were a standard trope used to show the power of faith over the dangers of the natural, pagan world. It's likely that the author, Adomnan, was simply using a popular story format and applying it to a local landmark. Some historians even suggest the tale might be an echo of much older Celtic myths about water spirits like kelpies, or mythical beasts like the Oilophiast, rather than a factual account of a real animal. So, while the St. Columba story is fascinating, it's probably not the smoking gun believers hope it is. The modern Nessie legend seems to be a much more recent creation, born in the media frenzy of the 1930s. The year after the Spicer sighting, in 1934, the legend was cemented in popular culture by a single photograph, known as the surgeon's photograph. It was submitted to the Daily Mail by a London gynecologist named Robert Kenneth Wilson. The image was stunning, a grainy, black and white shot showing a long, elegant neck and head rising from the rippling water. For 60 years, this photo was considered the best evidence for Nessie's existence. It was published in books, documentaries, and newspapers around the world. It was the iconic image of the monster. Then, in 1994, the truth came out. The photo was a complete and total hoax. It was masterminded by a man named Marmaduke Wetherell, a big game hunter who had been hired by the Daily Mail to find the monster a year earlier. After finding some suspicious footprints on the shore, Wetherell proudly announced he had found Nessie's tracks. But when zoologists from the Natural History Museum examined them, they declared they were made with a dried hippo's foot, likely from an umbrella stand or ashtray. Humiliated, Wetherell decided to get his revenge. He teamed up with his son-in-law, an insurance agent named Christian Sperling, who was a skilled model maker. Sperling built a miniature monster head and neck and attached it to a toy submarine. They took their creation to a quiet bay in the loch, photographed it, and then had Dr. Wilson, a respectable figure, submit the photos to the press to give them credibility. The hoax was a spectacular success, fooling the world for decades. Despite the surgeon's photograph being debunked, the hunt for Nessie didn't stop. In fact, it only intensified. The 1960s saw the creation of the Loch Ness Investigation Bureau, a volunteer group that set up observation posts and camera equipment around the loch for 10 years. Then came the age of technology. Sonar, or sound navigation and ranging, seemed like the perfect tool to peer into the murky, peat-stained depths of Loch Ness. In the 1970s and 80s, several expeditions, most famously led by American researcher Robert Rines, produced intriguing sonar readings. Some of these scans seemed to show large, moving objects in the deep. One sonar contact, dubbed the flipper photograph, appeared to show a diamond-shaped appendage. Another seemed to depict a large body, neck, and head. These findings caused a huge stir. Sir Peter Scott, a renowned naturalist, even gave Nessie a scientific-sounding name, Nessie terras rhomboipteryx, based on these images, which roughly translates to the Ness Wonder with a diamond-shaped fin. However, just like the photographs, the sonar evidence has been heavily scrutinized. Critics argue that the readings could be misinterpreted. Sonar can be tricked by boatquakes, schools of fish, floating logs, or even thermal layers in the water, creating false echoes. Later analysis of the flipper photo suggested it might just be sediment stirred up from the loch floor, and the other images were so blurry and ambiguous that they could be almost anything. In 2003, the BBC funded one of the most comprehensive sonar surveys of the loch ever conducted. Using 600 separate sonar beams, they scanned the entire body of water from end to end. They found no trace of any large, unknown animal. So, if there's no monster, what are people seeing? The scientific community has offered a whole range of plausible explanations. The most common one is misidentification. Loch Ness is over 22 miles long and incredibly deep, deeper than the North Sea. It's home to large fish like pike and Atlantic salmon, as well as otters and diving birds. From a distance, a line of otters playing in the water could easily look like a single, humped creature. A deer swimming across the loch, with only its head and neck visible, could look eerily like the classic Nessie shape. Even a floating log or a weird wave pattern, known as a seiche, could trick the eye, especially in misty or low-light conditions. Another compelling theory involves a real-life giant, the Greenland shark. These sharks can grow up to 20 feet long, live for hundreds of years, and are known to thrive in cold, deep water. While they typically live in the Arctic Ocean, it is not entirely impossible for one to have found its way into the loch through the River Ness. They are dark-colored, slow-moving, and would fit the general description of a large, mysterious creature. In 2019, a major scientific study took a different approach. Researchers from New Zealand collected water samples from all over Loch Ness to analyze the environmental DNA, or eDNA, left behind by all the creatures living there. They were looking for genetic traces of a large reptile like a plesiosaur, or a large fish like a sturgeon or a Greenland shark. They found no evidence for any of them. What they did find, however, was a huge amount of eLDNA. This led the lead scientist, Professor Neil Jamel, to suggest a new, slippery suspect. It's possible, though he admitted it's just a theory, that some sightings could be explained by a giant European eel, far larger than the typical size. Ultimately, the story of the Loch Ness Monster is about more than just a potential creature. It's about the power of myth, the human desire for mystery in an increasingly understood world, and the joy of a good story. Cryptozoology, the pseudoscience of searching for hidden animals, thrives on legends like Nessie. For many, the search itself is the adventure. The lack of hard evidence doesn't matter as much as the possibility that, what if Loch Ness has become a massive tourist destination, bringing millions of pounds into the local economy every year? People come from all over the world not just to see a monster, but to experience the magic and beauty of the Scottish Highlands, and to be part of a legend. So, is Nessie real? After all these years, there is still no conclusive proof. No bones, no body, not one undisputed photograph. Most scientists would say, definitively, no. But the legend of Nessie is very real. It lives in our books, our films, and our imaginations. It lives in the misty mornings over the dark, cold water of the loch. And for as long as that water remains mysterious, people will continue to watch it, hoping to catch a glimpse of something magical just beneath the surface. What do you think? Have you ever visited Loch Ness? Or do you have a favorite theory about what Nessie could be? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this dive into the unknown. Be sure to like this video and subscribe for more mysteries.